Today I just want to have a bit of fun. Alright, so we're going to have a look at symbols, and we're going to begin with the pentagram, and through a progressive journey we are going to get to a representation of the cosmos as a whole and a union of all things. Alright, so hopefully this is fun for everybody, and let's go for it. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Okay, so as I said, we're going to start with the pentagram and we're going to progressively move through. Now, I would encourage people to take any symbol and play with it as much as you can. Find all representations you can, think of all interpretations that you could, and just play. Play is a very important thing, and as adults we kind of forget to do it. So we've got to play, but I do encourage you to take one thing and go right down the rabbit hole, and all of the sub-rabbit holes that you find as you go down that one rabbit hole. So the pentagram. Alright, so the pentagram, 5-pointed star, in its upright position, and the pentagram has got loads and loads and loads of different interpretations, representations. It's, we can put the alchemical elements on it, which means that spirit goes to the top point, and in its upright position it is often considered to be a representation or an image which represents the right hand path, because spirit is moving up into the heavens. If we were to then invert the pentagram or put it in its averse form, both horizontally and vertically, and there is a difference there. This was actually discussed in Lon Milo Duquette's book about thelemic magic, because in one of the rituals Crowley doesn't say that the pentagram is inverted, he says it is an averse pentagram, and there was some debate around this. What is an averse pentagram? So if you were to take a pentagram as it is and you were just to flip it like that, just basically take the point from the top and move it down to the bottom without spinning it or anything like that, that would be considered inverted. Whereas an averse can be, you can create an averse pentagram on two planes. One is horizontally, so you would take it from here and you would spin it that way, or you can take it from here and spin it that way, which would become the inverted. But if you were to do it on both planes, what you're doing is, if you were to draw a pentagram on a piece of paper and then just spin it, turn it around 180 degrees, that becomes an averse pentagram. But that's not really the rabbit hole I want to go down here. So we have the upright pentagram, which is considered to be the right hand path, spirit moving upwards. We have the inverted pentagram, which is often considered to be a representation of the left hand path, where spirit is moving downward into matter. Now, what happens if we take both of them? Because if you know me and you've been watching my videos, you know I don't like all this left hand path and right hand path and good and evil and black and white and all that crap. It needs to all come together in union, right? So what happens if we take both of them? So if we were to put the upright pentagram into a circle, this now becomes a pentacle, by the way. There does seem to still be some debate and argument around what is the pentagram and what is the pentacle, but pentagram is a 5-pointed star, pentacle is a 5-pointed star inside a circle. Okay. Another rabbit hole I do not want to go down today. But if we were to put the pentagram into a circle, then we take that same thing, we copy it and we spin it 180 degrees, we end up with a without the circle now, we end up with a decagram. All right, that's another sub-rabbit hole that you can go down if you want to, but not what I'm trying to get at today. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to take the pentagram within the circle, and we are then going to divide the circumference of the circle into 6 equal parts. So we get 6 points around the circumference. Then we take the pentagram and we give it some perspective. So we move the 5 points of the pentagram onto 5 points of the circle. Okay, so now you can see it's got some perspective, it's got some bit of 3-dimension to it almost. Then we take that, we copy that, put it on top, and we turn that 180 degrees. And I think you'll see what we get. We get a hexagram. Okay, the hexagram is a representation of union with 2 opposing forces. So you'll see in the image we have a red and a blue triangle, because this is the union of 2 opposing forces, which are fire and water. We often consider this to be a union of man and God, and all these things, right? So now we've gone from the pentagram, which is a representation of 5 elements, but can be placed in such a way which represents a right-hand path, and placed in such a way which becomes a left-hand path. So we have these 2 opposing forces. If we put them together and we get the hexagram, then we have a union of these 2 paths. Okay, still not at the end yet. Now, within this image of the double pentagram, which is forming the hexagram, we also get a cross. Okay, there is one line missing. So if we were to take a line from the top point to the bottom point, okay, then we have a witch's foot within the symbol. Okay, so we can take all the other stuff away and we have a witch's foot which has 6 points. So it's not now 2 triangles which are overlapping and coming closer together, and then, you know, well, 2 separate triangles that start coming closer together and start to overlap, which brings those opposing forces into union. We have a 6-pointed figure, which is the witch's foot, and this actually becomes a 7-pointed figure because we have the center point. Now, this is where we start to get to the point where we can ascribe this to the witch's compass, to the representation of the cosmos, to all things, to all 3 worlds and all 4 cardinal directions. So we get into the mystery of 1734, which, if you don't know what 1734 is, go and have a look for Robert Cochrane and his letters, and specifically his letters to Joseph Bear Walker Wilson, who Joe then went on to form the 1734 tradition. So why is this 1734? Get to that in a minute. Okay, so we have the witch's foot, which has got 7 points. We've got 6 points on the outside and 1 in the center. Now, what we find here, because we're seeing this in a 2-dimensional representation, what you need to do, and also if you go back to where we had the 2 pentagrams overlaying and started to form the hexagram, and then we put the line in, all of that whole figure, if you go back there and you actually gaze at that for a period of time, what you can do is you can start to see a 3-dimensional shape starting to form, and there's a whole load of magic wrapped up in that. But that's another sub-rabbit hole to go down. But you can go and have a look at that. What you'd be looking for mostly is 2-dimensional figures which can be gazed at, and 3-dimensional figures can come out of it. And it has to do with the shape, the acute angles. and the power that builds up within those acute angles, and then this whole pulling out of a three-dimensional figure. Okay, so that's another sub-rabbit hole. So we have the witch's foot, right? So we have it in a two-dimensional representation. Now what you want to do is you want to bring it into a three-dimensional representation. So what you have the vertical line. This is the axis mundi, the world tree. So you have the three worlds on the world tree. So that's the top point, the center point, which all the lines are going through, and the bottom point. So upper world, middle world, lower world, underworld. So that's the axis mundi. Then we have the cross lines. So what you want to do with those is pull those into a horizontal plane. Okay, and then you have 4 cardinal points. So this becomes your witch's compass. So this is where 1734, one of the interpretations of 1734 is one compass with 7 points, 3 worlds on the axis, and 4 winds on the cardinals. Okay, and this is the cosmos. It's a representation of the cosmos. When you look at the witch's compass, each cardinal direction goes into a specific mythical land. You find various spirits in that direction. You usually in the northern hemisphere you tie the north point to the North Pole star. If you're in the southern hemisphere, what you can do is switch that. There is the star called Polaris Australis, which is the opposite point of the North Pole star. But you know, this all becomes very, very personal, so you have to go down that rabbit hole yourself. But what you've got is really a representation of the cosmos. You have your 4 cardinal directions, and you have axis mundi with the 3 worlds. And you can go from there and go absolutely crazy and play as much as you possibly want to and can. Alright, so I just wanted to kind of just take one symbol and play with it and see where it can take us. And as I said, there's so many interpretations and representations that you can bring into just one symbol. The pentagram itself, so many different representations. I mean, you can take it into purely being Hugaya, the Greek goddess of health, and split up the name itself and put those on the points of the pentagram and relate those to the elements, the alchemical elements, and see how things flow as well. You know, how one element flows into another one as you're following the lines around. So yeah, you can go crazy and just start playing. And you know, this is only one. Symbols is only one. You can do it with numbers, you can do it with words, names, everything. So if you go into gematria, then you know, you start creating numbers out of words, and words that have the same or equal the same number have a relationship with each other. So there's just so much you can play with in witchcraft and magic. It's just so much fun. But I think a lot of people miss out on this type of stuff. You know, we kind of read things and a person says it means this, and that's kind of what we stick with. We don't explore it further. If we take this image, this symbol, and we combine it with this symbol, do we get anything? Is there any representation I can pull out of it which can lead to me understanding more of my own personal cosmology and things like that? So really, it's playing with things in witchcraft is just marvelous and fantastic. Anyway, so I think you get what I'm trying to get to with today's video, and I'll leave it there and let you go down all the rabbit holes yourself. Have a good one for now. Cheers. Bye bye.